It's the most wonderful time of the year as UConn women's basketball season is about to begin. 2022 had a storybook tale of adversity, every player having to step up in their own way. Many doubted UConn, but they still made it to that title game. Not the result they wanted, but still an impressive season. We are going to preview the upcoming season. I'm Bri Mahn. This is...
I'm Najha Dumas.
And I'm Bri Carroll.
But before we preview it, we are going to talk a little bit about last year. What were your takeaways from then?
So I think for me, my biggest takeaways were how undoubtedly well they pushed through, even losing key players like Paige, AZ, Nika, and Aubrey so early in the season, and how well the team pushes through even the most unexpected turn of events. For example, Caroline Ducharme as a freshman putting up 24 points against Louisville.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think my biggest takeaway from the season last year would have to be their ability to make it as far as they did, even with everything that happened throughout the season. Having over 4 different starting lineups throughout the season due to injuries, COVID, transfers, and still being able to make it farther than they have since 2016 is still a really big accomplishment for them.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of negative takeaways, but overall, being able to have that much resilience, almost every player on the team being injured, nothing really shakes them up anymore. Going off of that, losing 3 seniors, having a couple injuries, the big question, who do you think that starting 5 will be?
Okay, my starting 5. Nika Mule, Dorka Juhas, Aaliyah Edwards, Aubrey Griffin, and AZ Fudd. 100%.
My starting 5 would have to be Nika, AZ Fudd, Aaliyah Edwards, Ayanna Patterson, and Caroline Ducharme.
Okay, hot takes. I think Nika's definitely going to get in their first game, but I think I could see Lou switching out with her. Very good guard, but I do like hearing Aubrey Griffin's name in that starting 5. We haven't seen her in a while, so it would be cool to see what she can do, but I really don't know what we're going to get of her. I think Nika Mule is great off the bench and getting onto the court, so I'm not too concerned if she's starting or if she's not, 'cause she's a spark of energy regardless. Obviously, we have discussed a lot of players in that starting 5. We have a great lineup, but some may think we're not as good as we used to be. Having one of our lowest preseason rankings, being number 2 last year, but predicted 6 this year. What's our initial thoughts?
I screamed. I couldn't believe my eyes. I screamed. I'm not going to say anything more. I screamed.
I think it's definitely shocking. I was definitely shocked. I think especially since we made it to the national championship last year, we should at least be in the top 5. So being number 6 is definitely... that caught me off guard.
Yeah, I know they're calculating in injuries, not even knowing Ice Brady was injured at that point. I knew South Carolina was going to be the number 1. Stanford, Texas, a little confused on Tennessee being ranked over UConn, especially with how our game went last year. But I personally don't mind being the underdog, especially seeing how it went last year, people getting upset with us losing to teams ranked lower than us. So we're going to beat a couple teams that are higher than us, and I think we'll move up the rankings. So I really think preseason rankings can't mean that much. But going into how much competition there is, we have one of the toughest schedules non-conference, especially starting off NC State, Texas, Florida State, Tennessee, Maryland, South Carolina. Let's talk about what those big matchups are going to mean.
So I think that they're definitely going to be pushed to reach their full potential this year, which they've shown time and time again. Is not to be messed with. And I also think that it'll be really interesting to see how some of the new players like Ayanna Patterson and Luke Lopez-Seneca will show up and add to the team's dynamic.
Yeah, I definitely think it's not going to be an easy year for them, especially with Paige out and especially with Ice out now. But I definitely think due to last year, their confidence is a lot more boosted when it comes to dealing with difficult situations and losing a lot of players. So I definitely think their confidence is a lot higher, and I think they'll be able to persevere through it.
Coach Auriemma said himself that he would know if we were going to win a national championship by Christmas. He likes setting up those early battles. You can kind of weed out what they're doing wrong quickly. So as much as people are going to doubt us off the jump if we have a struggle in that first game against Texas, at least we work out what we want to do. And South Carolina's schedule is not that tough in the beginning of the season, which I think might hurt them in the long run, because you kind of want to be able to test yourself, challenge yourself, because then we go through that Big East play and then have to come back and play in the tournament, which will be ultra competitive. Obviously, losing to South Carolina in that title game, having a couple tough losses mid-season, who do you think is our biggest competition this year?
So I feel like definitely South Carolina, even without Destiny Henderson, one of their biggest key players, and they still have Aaliyah Boston, the reigning Naismith Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. So
Yeah, I definitely think South Carolina is going to be our biggest competitor, especially with Aaliyah Boston still on the team, even though they lost Destiny Henderson. I feel like she's just always a dominant force. I feel like she's the one they're going to have to look out for the most.
yes.
I do like that we aren't playing South Carolina in that early game this year. We played them over our Thanksgiving break tournament. I like that we get a couple other non-conference opponents before we have to face them. It'll be a February matchup, and then I kind of like how that goes right into March. So whoever wins that, the person is going to have a vengeance when coming back for it. Also, I feel like Big East play, obviously it's getting escalated a little. 2 teams making it pretty far in the tournament, 3 or 4 teams being in it. So I think there definitely might be some regular season competition as well. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty competitive season. We lost 3 Morocco players, gained a couple people. Do you want to speak a little on those 3 players we lost, obviously having a huge impact on our team?
Right, so Avina Westbrook, Olivia Nelson-Adota, Kristen Williams, obviously Avina and Olivia were our 2 big guys, and that might be a little tough for us to come back to this year, but I feel like they'll definitely push through it like they always do and find different ways to patch those holes.
And then going off of that, what we gained.
Yeah, so we did gain in freshmen Ayanna Patterson, Inez Betancourt, and Lou Lopez-Sedichel. We did also gain Ice Brady, but unfortunately she has a knee injury, so she'll be out for the season. Ayanna Patterson is a forward, number 4 ranked recruit, number 1 forward recruit, a McDonald's All-American, Big East Preseason Player of the Year, highest high school record of 43 points in 1 game. Inez Betancourt is a guard. She's a true point guard, needs to be developed a little bit, but she's committed prior to Northwest Florida as a junior college, and then 9 days later, UConn announced her as a late addition to the freshman class. And with Ice Brady, she's a forward, number 5 ranked recruit, number 2 forward recruit, and McDonald's All-American as well, overall above 15 points a game in high school, which is pretty impressive. So I definitely think not having her this season is going to definitely put a damper in things, but I feel like with Ayanna and Inez coming in, I definitely think we're going to have something to make up for it.
Yeah, Ayanna and Ice were obviously supposed to be really big presence. A lot of people were wondering which one were going to be preseason freshman of the year without even knowing Ice was sadly going to be injured. But even putting that aside, I think that we do have a good incoming class. Lou coming from Fairfield, obviously experienced, obviously a great guard, kind of coming in like how Dorka did. I'm hoping, because she only has 1 year, that she'll be able to warm up a little bit quicker. Inez, I don't know if we'll see her play this year, but it would be nice to see her develop. And then Ayanna is going to be a force to be reckoned with. But going off of Ice being injured, we obviously know a huge presence for UConn basketball, who's been injured before, but not like this. Paige Beckers was announced to be out for the entire season. Hard to wrap your head around, but they simply had to move on and prepare for the season without it. How do you think it's going to affect the team?
So I feel like we've showed how unpredictability doesn't faze us as a team, and even without Paige and now Ice, all of the remaining players will continue to uphold the standard that UConn basketball is and always will be.
Yeah, although we lost 3 key players in last year's rotation and starting lineup, I definitely think our roster this year is pretty stacked. Even without Paige, we have Nika, Caroline, Dorka, Aubrey, Aaliyah, AZ, Amari, and 4 new top-notch additions to the roster. Even with Ice out, we still have Lou, Inez, Ayanna, and Amari coming off the bench to give us depth and give us some new players coming on the court.
I completely agree. Obviously, Paige Beckers being out is a scary thought. She completely takes over the game, but some people forget that UConn does recruit a million number 1 recruits. A lot of people in that top recruiting class. AZ Fudd, number 1 recruit, Gatorade player twice. So people get concerned, but we have a lot of other people that would be stars at other schools, but do come here. So I don't think that we should be too concerned without her, especially because we can now prepare for it. And it will make them better players overall, because Paige won't be this present on the court. But now the question is, who will be this new go-to player without Paige being there?
So Gino's mentioned how he thinks that AZ will be the team's next go-to player to step up in Paige's place while she's out. There's actually a quote from him. He said that he would say, based on 1 week of practice, AZ's as good as anybody we've had at this point in every area of the game, and she's just so much better than last year at this point. She's healthy, and she can do some pretty special things.
Yeah, I also think Aaliyah Edwards is going to step up this year. She's looking to have a bigger role this season. She played her best basketball during the 2021 NCAA tournament. And after a quiet first half of the season last year, she was in a little bit of a slump. She stood out during the Tennessee game. After that, she began playing at a more elite level and continued for the rest of the season, and she's expected to make a big leap this year. So I think she's going to make even more of a contribution than she did.
I definitely agree with those two, and I think it'll actually rely on both of them needing a guard, needing a point guard, someone to facilitate playmaking. Obviously, Paige did so much of that, but we are going to need someone to step up in that role. And then losing Liv down low, someone is going to need to be a huge post presence, and that will rely on Aaliyah. So I think it'll be interesting, AZ and Aaliyah's relationship with this, having two such different positions, but it's really going to rely on the both of them. We could talk about a little bit about those preseason awards, maybe a little about Caroline Ducharme, Dorka Juhas. How do you think they're going to do this year?
I feel like they definitely showed last year how much they can step up under pressure. How I mentioned earlier, Caroline wrecking all of those points when she was just a freshman. She was just a baby, and she really always steps up to the plate. I think Dorka also, after getting sadly injured last year, is going to come back with a little bit of a vengeance and really want to step up her game and show what she's capable of. So.
Yeah, I definitely think Caroline is going to play a really big role this season. I definitely think her confidence is boosted a lot, especially after her really good game against Louisville. And I definitely think Dorka does have a vengeance coming from her. I definitely think getting injured, especially so late in the tournament last year, she really wanted to help her team and she really wanted to be there for them, especially considering everything that they went through that year. So I definitely think not only just her, but the whole team definitely has a vengeance coming for them, and they definitely really want it this year. So.
Yeah, Caroline is a special player. I think we saw it off the jump, and many were extremely surprised at what she was capable of. But we kind of saw it fizzle out during the tournament as more people came back. I'm really hoping to see it this year. Coach Oriema even mentioned how she was getting extended minutes. Juhas was too. Kind of seeing how they're in the loop this year, I think will be interesting. And it provides a lot of comfort with especially how many injuries there are. We have some big players, and I just have to say we are all so excited for the season. And if you like UConn women's basketball, UCTV is the place to come. Press conferences, packages, interviews, pregame, postgame reports, highlight reels, you name it, we will have it. We love to talk about every game, pregame, postgame, halftime show. We've got it all here. So follow us on our Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channels. Until then, from the basketball capital of the world, I'm Bri Mahn.
I'm Najha Dumas.
And I'm Bri Carroll.
Thanks for watching.